Hey everypony, I'm Pony Fanboy, I fanboy over ponies and you just listen, and today we're going to be reading KP and Equestria Girls. It's a two-chapter crossover fanfiction of Equestria Girls and Kim Possible. And I know a little bit about Kim Possible because of KP's reviews. I know that it's about a cheerleader high school girl who is also a super spy along with her blonde, nerdy best friend, and he has a pet naked mole rat, and they go up against an evil blue scientist who wants to take over the world, and he has a henchman who is this green lady who can do green flames from her hands. So today we're going to be looking at how they cross over into the world of Equestria Girls. I'm excited. Let's see how this turns out. This is KP and Equestria Girls. One day, Kim is visiting Ron over at his house, who is playing with his little sister when the doorbell rings. So Kim goes to answer the front door, and a teenage girl about Ron's age with bright green eyes, pale yellow skin, long blonde hair to her waist, and dressed in full country clothes that she had seen her own cousin wear around the working ranch, is revealed. She says, is this the right place? She says as she looks down at the paper in her hand. Kim opens the door wider and she says, "Who are you looking for?" The blonde girl says, "Sorry, hun, I'm Applejack, and I'd be mighty grateful if y'all could tell me where I can find my cousin Ron." Huh, so Ron is actually a part of the Apple family. Seems legit. Kim opens the door wider to see if she can get a better look at her, as she did look like she belonged in Ron's family, especially the 3 matching triangle-shaped freckles she had. Ron stoppable? Oh, she says to Applejack when Applejack suddenly spots Ron coming up to see who's at the door. She bolts past Kim and scoops up Ron in her hands, lifting him up off of his feet and shouts, "'Cause I do declare, it is so good to finally meet ya in person." Ron wasn't used to being lifted up into the air by strong people, and the times he had, it usually wasn't a good thing since it usually meant they were about to hurt him. He does the first thing he can think of and cries out, "Kim, help!" Applejack looks hurt and says as she puts him back down onto his feet, "Sorry about that, cuz. I was just excited and all." It was then Ron got a chance to look at her without cringing. "Cousin? Wait, is that you? Applejack? Boy, you sure look exactly like your picture. Why didn't you tell me you were coming by?" Kim has shut the door and rejoined her boyfriend Ron at this point. She had figured that Ron was overreacting to his cousin's sudden appearance when he called out. Applejack steps back and sighs. There's a reason for that. I'm kind of in a bit of a fix, and was wondering if your stories about you and your friend traveling around the world and helping people were really true. Ron smiled big and proudly as he reached out and grabbed Kim by the hand and pulled her up by her shoulder. "Oh, you bet it is. We're Team Possible. We can do anything." Kim could see that Applejack was happy to hear the news, but still nervous of asking, so she steps forward and says, "What's the matter? What do you need our help with?" Applejack takes a moment to collect herself. "Well then, I was just wondering if you'd come back with me and help with a bit of a fix I'm having. Y'all can say no right now if you want, but my friends are missing and I'm not sure where they are. Swearing something just doesn't add up right, and when I got your most recent letter, it just got me figuring that there is something wicked done happening in Equestria." Kim is about to say something when Ron steps up and says, "Sure thing, we'll help you, cousin, or my name isn't Ron Stoppable." Applejack relaxes a bit, visibly smiles, and says, "I'm most pleased to hear that, cuz, because I've been worrying myself sick over my friends." Kim went into mission mode and said, "So what's the sitch? Where and when did you last see your missing friends?" Ron quickly says, "Oh, that's Kim speak for what's the situation. She did it when she was in pre-K and I thought it was cool, so she's done it ever since." Kim smiles a little bit and thinks, "Ron noticed, how sweet of him." Applejack nods to them. "I get it. Anyway, back to the questions. I last be seeing them in my town of Ponyville. I saw them just last weekend. My friends, Rarity, Rainbow Dash, and Pinkie Pie are missing." Kim nods as she takes the information. "Then we gotta start there." Applejack smiles in relief. "I was hoping to be hearing something like that, to be honest." She turns the door opening and it reveals Big Macintosh sitting in a truck, bringing his hand up and waves a smile to the sight of Applejack, Kim, and Ron. Kim looks at the old truck with mud on the wheels and fenders, leftover hay strands sticking out of the back, and signs of rust in the few corners of the bumpers. It sat just a few feet from Kim's car, and she was wondering how long it would take for them to get to wherever Equestria was in the truck. Kim turns to Applejack. "If time is of the essence, then maybe we should go in my car. It can get us anywhere we want at supersonic speed." She waves at Big Mac as she turns and looks at her car. "Supersonic speed, Kim? Seems like RD's kind of car." Applejack frowns and didn't think her truck was that slow at all, despite how it looked. "I just don't know. Wait, are you putting my truck down? Ron shakes his head as he backs up Kim. Of course not, cousin. Kim isn't joking about how fast the car is. It can really fly. Again, not kidding, it can really fly. Supersonic flying car. Again, like I said, sounds like Rainbow Dash's kind of vehicle. Applejack scratches the back of her head, making her country hat bounce on her head. Okay, I'm not really following you, cuz, but if you think it can get us there sooner, then I'm up for trying your car. Applejack walks over to the truck and says to him, Hey Mac, do you mind taking the truck home? I'm gonna catch riding home with these two. They seem to be thinking that I can get home faster in their car. Big Mac nods as he says, Yup, and then he started the engine. As he started driving off, Applejack can hear a recording of her and the others of her family singing Apples to the Core with him, and just starting to join in his deep voice. Applejack smiles as she knows that as long as she has her family there to support her, she can get through anything. And so when she turns to her cousin Ron, she gives him a genuine smile as she knows that, as family, Ron would support her and help ease her worries. Applejack smiles at Ron. I'm rarin' and ready to go now, cuz. Now, why don't you be showing me this fancy car of yours? Kim is standing by her car and clears her throat. The car is right here, Applejack, and we're ready to go. Applejack notices both Kim and Ron have changed their clothes when she was at the truck. Did y'all change clothes, or am I going insane? Ron chuckles. Nah, we just changed into our mission clothes. We go on missions so much, we have them handy at all times. Applejack didn't really understand, but having been around Pinkie Pie taught her that there were so many questions that you didn't want to ask, because the answer would be more off than the question or the situation would be, so she just gave a nervous smile and nods. Everyone climbs into the car, with Kim in the driver's seat, Ron in the passenger seat, and Applejack in the back. It was then that hit Kim. Applejack? I've been all around the world, but I haven't been to Equestria or Ponyville. Where is it? Applejack leans forward from her middle seat. I'm sure I can guide you there. Do y'all have a map handy? Kim shakes her head no before she says, No, but I've got the next best thing. She then pushes a button on the dashboard, causing to flip most of the dashboard over, turning into a screen to reveal a short black boy wearing a light blue shirt. Kim leans forward. Wade, this is Ron's cousin Applejack, and she needs our help. Can you find out how to get to Ponyville in some place called Equestria? Wade waves to Applejack in greeting before he says to Kim, Sure thing, Kim, give me a sec. He then rapidly types and pauses to see what the result is. He raises his eyebrows in surprise. I've got a coordinates and it's uploading now, but you sure you want to go there? Applejack tips the front of her hat. You're rootin' tootin' she wants to go there. My cousin and I have a crisis that needs a fixin'. Wade backs up. Sorry, just checking. He then looks at Kim. Kim, I know you probably won't get a chance while you're there, but you think you can get in touch with Twilight Sparkle? Applejack tilts her head back in confusion. When my friends are back, I'd be more than happy to, Sugar Cube, but we really gotta be skedaddling right now. Wade presses a single key and says as he stares at his computer screen, Your GPS is all set, Kim. Thanks, Wade, Kim says before the connection closes and she announces, Hang on to something, we're going fast any moment. She then presses a button, flips 3 switches, and a moment later, the trunk opens up with 3 large rocket cannons coming out immediately and blasts at high speed to launch them into the sky until they were feeling a lack of gravity. Applejack cries out, Tarnation, what's happened? Ron looks back at Applejack and says, You better hold on to your hat, cousin. We're not done yet, causing Applejack to take him literally, getting a firm grip on it just as Kim turns the car and the rocket back towards the Earth at high speed. Applejack cries out, Ain't we going a bit too fast? The Earth is coming up mightily fast, as she sees the Earth rushing at them. Before long, they were on the ground of Equestria, with Applejack kissing the ground out of gratitude. Just then, a familiar horn honks behind her, and Applejack turns to see Big Mac driving up. Well, what do you know? We did beat the truck here. That there car is pretty fast. Did you really need to send us up into orbit to get us here? Ron looks around and says, Hey, KP, isn't this... With Kim immediately recognizing the area. Kim sighs, Yeah, Ron, this is the city near my uncle's ranch. Well, at least we beat the truck here, Kim, Ron says as Rufus then pops out and says, Oh boy, while Applejack is over at the truck, telling him about how the car just flew up into space and back to Earth. Rufus goes back into Ron's pocket before Applejack turns around to face Ron and Kim. Applejack is all excited as she shouts, Woo-wee! Do you two always be riding around like that? And here I thought Rainbow Dash was fast. She then has a second thought about what she just said. I would be appreciating if you never told my friend Rainbow Dash I said that, okay, cuz? Sure thing, she won't hear it from me, Ron says to Applejack before whispering to Kim, I don't even know this Rainbow Dash anyway. Making Kim roll her eyes as she had a feeling that Ron would just blurt it out when he did. Kim looks around once and says to AJ, Okay, now that we're here, let's get started finding your missing friends. And that's the end of chapter 1. Now on to chapter 2.
Hi, I'm KP and you're watching Pony Fanboy Reads.
So where was the last place you saw your friends? Were there any eyewitnesses? Kim says, going right to the point. Applejack tips her hat back and scratches her head. The last place I'm seeing any of them was in school on Friday. I haven't seen them all weekend, and we've been having made plans and all. Now I can't even be getting a hold of any of them except from Fluttershy, who has been hiding something fierce from whatever be spooking her. Kim thinks that there might be a connection and says to Applejack, "Have you ever tried to ask her if she knows what's happened to the others?" Applejack shrugs. "I tried, but her calls are either too short or she's often speaking a mighty bit too soft for my ears to be picking up." Ron steps up and says, "Why not ask her in person then?" Applejack shakes her head. "I'd love to, Sugar Cube, but I have no clue where she'd be hiding, and believe me, I've been looking." Kim pulls out her communicator. "Wade, we need a trace on a phone to locate someone. Can you do that?" Wade nods to Kim and he says, "Easier than falling off a log for me, Kim. What's the number?" Applejack tells Wade the number, and within a few moments of some typing, Wade says, "Well, you're not going to believe this, but..." Arriving at where Fluttershy is hiding, Applejack says, "I can't believe she is hiding out here," looking at where the gerbils and hamsters that Fluttershy loved to take care of normally lived. Ron smiles and says, "Hey, it could be worse. She could be hiding out in a monkey house in some abandoned zoo." Applejack looks at Ron with some confusion while Kim rolls her eyes as she remembered the mission and says, "Come on, Ron, let's find our eyewitness," not wanting to think about that mission with Yori and how she felt then. The three of them walk into the building and go to the room where Fluttershy is feeding the hamsters, and Applejack runs to Fluttershy the moment she sees her friend and says, "Fluttershy, you had me really worried about you. What in all tarnation are you doing here if you're hiding out?" Fluttershy lowers her voice shyly and says softly, "Oh, but I couldn't just leave the animals. It's my turn to take care of them, and they might starve if I'm not here to take care of them. No matter what is going on, they don't deserve that." She picks up a hamster and brings it up to her face in emphasis, to which the hamster shows its gratitude by turning and nuzzling her cheek. Applejack didn't know what to say. She knew her friend was the most shy and timid girl she had ever met, but at the same time, whenever it came to her animals or friends, she could be the most fearless person she had ever met, but this just left her speechless. Ron could see the bond Fluttershy had with the hamsters and steps forward as he says, "You're right, someone should be taking care of them, and if you're not here for them, who would be? Why, my buddy Rufus is like family to me, and I'd never let him starve." Fluttershy starts to back away in shyness and nervousness about being around such an energetic individual and saying at almost whisper level something to him until Ron pulls out Rufus out of his pocket to show her his buddy. She immediately perks up and zips close to Rufus and loudly says, "Oh, you have a naked mole rat. I never met one before. He's so cute." Applejack was rather repulsed by the sight of Rufus and thinks, he had that in his pocket this whole time? I guess you never know with someone what y'all can expect. Kim saw an opening with Fluttershy, even as she started to ask questions, and quickly says, "Fluttershy, is it? Applejack is missing some friends, and we believe you might know what happened to them. Can you tell us?" Fluttershy was still in discovery mode over Rufus as she pets Rufus on the head. "It is Fluttershy, and they were kidnapped by some scary people because of our poniness." She then says in a cutesy voice, "Aren't you the cutest naked mole rat?" "Yes, you are." To which Rufus smiles and makes a happy sound as he gets petted more and more by Fluttershy. Ron smiles at the way Rufus is acting. "You really have a way with animals, don't you? I can tell Rufus likes you." Fluttershy looks up at Ron and smiles. "You have taken such good care of him. I can tell how strong and healthy he is, and his happiness just radiates from every pore on his body." Ron reaches up with his other hand to rub a cheek on Rufus. "Like I said, we're family. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for my family." He then looks at Kim. "Or my best friends." And with that, something occurs to Fluttershy, and she straightens up. "You know what? You're right. My best friends are in danger, and I am just hiding. I need to help them." She turns to Kim and says, "I'll tell you everything I know." Kim couldn't help but smile inwardly with a bit of pride at how Ron was able to use his Ronness to bring a very shy and scared girl out of her shell to help them find the missing people. Outwardly, she was all about business and starts to ask some questions. Later, Applejack looks at the cave, scratching her head in confusion, and she says, "I'm wondering why anyone would say that they'd bring my friends here." Kim starts to move forward as she says, "I don't know, but that's why we're here." She then stops and turns to Applejack. This could get dangerous. Perhaps you should stay here until we find out for sure that they're even in here. Applejack shakes her head. Not happening, sugar. If my friends need me, I am coming along, and I don't think you can stop me. Kim is about to say something when Ron speaks up. Come on, KP, let her come. She's family, and just think how you'd feel if someone told you it was too dangerous to go where I might be. All the fight of her argument washed out of her as soon as she thought about Ron's words, and knew there would be nothing anyone could do or say to stop her too if her best friend was in trouble. Fine, but if there's any danger, Applejack, I want you to get some cover. Do we have a deal? Applejack nods, and then on reflex, brings her hand to tap back her hat. I promise I'll try and stay out of your hair, but if my friends need me, I'll be going to them. Kim sighs as she had a feeling Applejack would say something like that. Fine, now follow us and try to stay quiet. We don't want the kidnappers to know we're coming. Going slowly deeper with the rocks starting to glow brighter green as time went by, making it easy so that they would know where they were going. Applejack says as they walk along, seeing these rocks glowing makes me think a rarity. I'd wager that she'd tell us about what they are and why they're glowing. Kim pauses and says, I've been wondering that too. She activates the communicator and says, Wade, I'm sending you a scan of something and need you to tell me what's causing it to glow. Wade mods the screen to Kim and says, I'll analyze it and get back to you as soon as I can. Kim turns off the communicator and resumes with the others into the slowly brightening cave. It seemed that the deeper they went, the brighter it got until it got to a point where it was almost like daylight in intensity, and they were coming up to a cave opening where it seemed the brightest. She was the first to hear it being in the front and holds up a hand before whispering, Hold on, I hear something. Taking a few quiet steps forward, she peeks around to see the source of the sound that she had heard, and her eye widened briefly before they narrow and focus. Kim continues to watch as she mentally plans out what she needs to do before she steps around the corner and sees what appears to be steps leading up to an arch that bore a resembling to a horseshoe. Standing next to it was some monkey fist, and it looked like he was talking to the arch. Monkey Fist has his knuckles on the ground and his monkey at rest pose and says, Remember our agreement. As soon as I finish delivery, you will give me what I want. Kim turns back to whisper to Ron and Applejack, It's Monkey Fist, and he's talking to a glowing arch. Ron whispers back, Oh man, I bet it's another monkey plan again. Applejack whispers to Kim, Who's this Monkey Fist? Do y'all think he might have something to do with my missing friends? She moves to get a peek at Monkey Fist. Kim frowns a bit and whispers, This doesn't make any sense. What would he possibly want with her friends? What would make them special enough to... She is cut off by Applejack as she whispers, Magic! Kim blinks and whispers, What? She glances at Ron as if he had any idea what Applejack was talking about, just as Monkey Fist shouts loudly enough to get everyone's attention. Monkey ninjas, bring forth the newest captive. Applejack couldn't believe her eyes as the funny-looking monkey man and his band of furry critters carried Fluttershy towards the arch. She was about to make a move when she saw a blur at the edge of her vision and saw Kim moving with incredible stealth, ducking behind stalagmites to get closer without getting noticed before seeing that her cuz was doing the same thing, even taking the same breaths in sync. She continues to watch this for a few more moments before snapping out of it. She flips her hat forward as she whispers to herself, Focus, Fluttershy needs you now, and best I'm stopping them from doing whatever they did to the others. As soon as she took one step forward, a hand on something really long reaches out through the arch and grabs Fluttershy, pulling her through with it and both of them vanishing into a small flash. She cries out, Fluttershy! Which catches the attention of everyone in the room, and almost immediately Monkey Fist shouts at his monkey ninjas, Get her! She's the last one we need! In the blink of an eye, Kim and Ron put themselves between Applejack and the monkeys as they approach them. Kim narrows her eyes in a silent challenge before she says, Whatever you're planning, Monkey Fist, it won't work. Ron then quickly adds, Yeah, what she said, monkey dude, before he makes some kung fu-like moves. Kim doesn't look at Ron as she says, Ron, go check out that arch that Fluttershy went through, with a cheerful answer from Ron reaching her ears. You got it, Kim. She knows that Ron is already on the move as she kicks a monkey ninja back into two others when it tried to leap to her. Applejack looks at the strange sight before her and cries out, What in tarnation is going on here? Why the heck do they want me? And just where did they take Fluttershy? Kim grabs a monkey ninja and tosses it into another pair, but they dodge being hit, even as Kim calmly says, I don't know, Applejack, but I promise we'll get to the bottom of this. The most important thing right now is keeping you safe, because I can tell you this, whatever Monkey Fist wants you for, it won't be good. He wants to rule the world and will use any means he can. Applejack sees the monkey ninja approaching her and is extremely frustrated and is trying to understand everything at this point. I'm used to magical villains trying to take over the world, but they're usually from another pony-based world, not our world. She punches the monkey ninja that got too close, and with her strength from working on the farm, she sends it flying through the air to a far wall of the cave, knocking it out instantly. Kim saw the instant KO and took a mental note not to get on her bad side as she says, You're used to fighting villains from another world? Do you think it could be one of them at work here? Applejack kicks another monkey ninja from across the room, answering in a frustrated voice, I'm not sure. My friends and I already defeated and befriended the first one, powered down the second ones, so if it's a mystical villain, it is a new one for me. Kim was a bit surprised to hear about the action Applejack had seen. She had thought Applejack was another country girl whose mission would be easy, but apparently there was far more to Ron's cousin than she had given her credit for. She promises herself she wouldn't do that again as she does a kick at another monkey ninja. Applejack looks around and doesn't see her cousin anywhere. Where's my cousin? Do you suppose he's okay? Kim hadn't heard Ron's traditional cry for help, so she figures Ron and Rufus were trying to stay out of sight in order to find out what happened to Fluttershy. She spots a bit of blonde hair in the arch and says, yeah, he's fine. Applejack wishes she could feel as secure as Kim seemed to, but notices that they seem to be pulling back and not coming as close from usual, which started to make her suspicious. Ron sticks his head through the arch with Rufus before they pull back their heads, and he cries out, Kim, you're not going to believe this! This immediately catches the attention of some monkey ninjas, and three immediately pounce for him. Applejack sees this and cries out, Cousin! Before she was immediately scooped up by two big monkey hands from above. She looks up and sees that the one that Kim had called Monkey Fist as he cackles, I've got you now, finally I will have what I desire. She struggles as he starts to grab the stalactites with his hands on his feet and moves towards the arch. Looking down to cry out for Kim, she sees that Kim had problems of her, for as many as 6 of these monkey ninjas seemed to tackle her and roll with her, and that's when she knew she was on her own. She shouts up at the monkey man, let me go! She struggles hard and can feel him losing grip on her. Monkey Fist growls for a moment as he tries to hold on to the strong girl. Quit your struggling! I will have what I want! Applejack shouts, not if I have something to say about it. She swings herself back and forth in Monkey Fist's already loose grip, until she can put both her feet on the arch, and with one mighty thrust, she pushes back hard and rockets herself upwards into him, knocking them both down to the ground with her on top of him. Turning around quickly as she grabs him by the collar and shouts at him and rocks him back and forth, What have you done to my friends, you crazy monkey man? Monkey Fist grabs her by her wrists and pulls her hands off with great difficulty as she was stronger than the others had been, and he shouts to his ninjas, Get this country girl off of me! Applejack is grabbed almost instantly from behind by 2 monkey ninjas and pulled away from Monkey Fist, moving towards the arch as she shouts, You haven't seen the last of me! I will find my friends and rescue them! Monkey Fist snorts derisively. Foolish girl, you're about to join them in captivity! There is a muffled sound from under the monkeys on top of Ron, which no one notices before there is a glow from under the pile, and just before Applejack is about to be thrown through, the monkeys on Ron go flying through the air, with 2 knocking hard into the ones holding Applejack, freeing her arms. Applejack doesn't see her cousin glowing right away, as she uses her freed arms to punch the ones holding her legs until she hears Ron shout, No one's taking my cousin anywhere. She looks up and sees him glowing, with her eyes glowing wide in shock, as she says, Cuz, is that you? Before Ron can answer, the group of monkey ninjas that had tackled Kim go flying past her and slamming into various points of the wall, with Kim leaping onto Applejack's side, arms up and ready for the next monkey to try anything. Kim quickly says, Ron, I'll get Monkey Fist, protect your cousin, as she punches a monkey ninja away from Applejack. Ron shouts, Got it, KP. He then leaps as the glow fades and lands next to his cousin with a small flash of the monkey aura as he lands. Monkey Fist growls in frustration before he shouts, "Monkey ninjas, retreat!" He then quickly leaves with the large group of monkey ninjas making their monkey screeches, sounding like they were repeating their retreat order. They all rush off into one of many other tunnels connecting to the cave and vanish. Ron relaxes once they're all gone and sighs. "I'm glad they're gone," before he is grabbed by Applejack and spun towards him. "You have powers?" He nods. "Yeah, I didn't tell you in the letter about my monkey kung fu." Applejack releases Ron as she remembers the letters. "Oh yeah, I recollecting you telling me about it and the time you saved the world from those aliens, but I thought you were just kidding." Kim smiles at Ron. "No, it's all true. He saved the world and he saved me." She walks over and gives Ron a hug and a quick kiss on the lips before he says with a smile, "I'd do anything for you, Kim." Applejack could see the love between them, but she was still worried about her friends and says, "That's really touching, y'all. But what about my friends? Fluttershy was probably taken through that portal to..." Her eyes shoot wide and realizes, "Equestria!" Ron looks at her with confusion. Cousin, why would they need a portal for that?" Applejack shakes her head. "No, I'm talking about another world. A world with magical ponies and other magical creatures." Kim says, "Great, another mission with magic." She turns to Ron. "I don't suppose you know what she's talking about?" Wow, time out. I just gotta say, you got someone who has magical horse powers, and then you got someone who has magical kung fu monkey powers. Ron nods a bit. Yeah, she kinda told me about how her friends met this magical pony princess from another world that came through their portal at the school statue." He then stops and says, "Hey, wait! We're nowhere near your school, Applejack." Applejack tilts her head forward as she turns to look at the arch that, as she stared at it, looked more and more like a horseshoe done with a crystal look before she says, "Yeah, I was thinking the same thing just now. I'm guessing that the bad guys found another portal to our world." Ron walks over to the arch and touches it, but nothing happens. He sighs a bit. Looks like they closed it when Monkey Fist retreated. Kim aims her communicator at it and scans it. "I am going to scan it, and I will need to see that one at your school, Applejack. Maybe we can find something that will help us tell where they went." Applejack looks down at the ground sadly and she says, "I sure hope so, cuz. They're all my very best friends, and I'm worried about them something fierce. Who knows what their evil plans are for my friends?" Kim puts a reassuring hand on Applejack's shoulder. "Don't worry, you heard Monkey Fist. Whatever they are planning, they will need you to finish it. So your friends will probably be alright as long as we keep you away from them." Ron quickly speaks up. "Kim is right. The bad guys don't like to move forward with their plans unless everything is just right for them. Trust us, we have lots of experience in this." Applejack knew from both news and her own letters from her cousin that she should listen to them, but in her heart she was afraid that time was running out for her friends, whether they kept her safe and not from their clutches. Forget that. Buck that. What you should have said. Forget that. I'm saying we should take it to them now instead of waiting. My gut is telling me that time is running out for them either way. If Rainbow Dash was here, she would say the same thing. Ron was moved by his cousin's speech. "Come on, Kim, let's go get her friends back. I know if I went missing, you'd move heaven and earth to find me." Kim closes her eyes, as the seasoned part of her was telling her to wait, let the bad guys make a move, and fight them that way, but then she remembers how she felt when Yuri came into the picture, and she thought she was taking him away from her, and though the situation is completely different from what is going on now, she knew she couldn't argue with Ron's words. "Alright, Ron, but we need to get to the other portal then, and see if we can find them." She turns to Applejack. "But since you know about the portal, you can guide us once we're on the other side, right?" Applejack scratches the back of her head. She's doing a lot of that, this fanfic, I've noticed. About that, she then tilts her head forward and then sighs. "To be perfectly honest, I've never been through it. My friends Twilight and Sunset are the only ones who have been through it." Ron says, "Well, let's talk to them." Applejack sighs again and says, "Twilight lives on the other side of the portal, and she only comes through whenever we need her help." Kim says, "And let me guess, we can add Sunset to the list of missing people?" Applejack shakes her head. "No, we haven't spoken before since coming out with you two. Probably should give her a ring and ask her if she can help us." She pulls out her cell phone and dials it. "Sunset, it's Applejack, and I'm wondering if you can contact Twilight." She takes a deep breath. All of our friends have been taken to Equestria, and I'm wondering if you can ask her to find them. She pulls the phone away from her ear as an extremely loud "What?" is heard from the speaker. So that was KP and Equestria Girls, and honestly, even though most of my knowledge just comes from other people's reviews of Kim Possible, I gotta say this is a pretty fun crossover. I enjoyed it on the same level that I enjoyed something like Babysitting, which that was a lot shorter in comparison to this, but I still think the crossover is pretty neat. Makes me kind of want to check out what the other franchise that's being crossed over here is, so maybe sometime I'll check out Kim Possible. I hear it's great, so I'll try and see if I can catch it at some point. I think the biggest strength with this story is the fact that it is a continuing story, and sadly, it's only 2 chapters as of right now. The last chapter was posted in 2015, so yeah, a lot of people have been asking for a sequel of this, so I would like to see a 3rd chapter. I'd like to see the story move forward, especially with all that's happened with Equestria Girls since then, so I would like to see what happens from this point forward in the story. So yeah, very entertaining story. Thank you for watching this month's Pony Fanboy Reads. I don't know if I'm going to be doing any videos in October, but we'll see. Until then, I'm the Pony Fanboy, and I fanboy over ponies, and you just listen.